My name is Panther, and for those of you who don't already know me, I've been a Challenger player for the past 5 years. During my initial climb to Challenger, and my years in and out of Challenger, I've learned quite a few things about the game and some of the attitudes that will result in better habits and a faster climb. Some of the things that we're going to cover today are going to be hard to implement, and if I'm being honest, even I struggle to implement these rules all of the time. These are tips that are going to apply to every elo and how you can improve in general. It doesn't matter if you're Iron or Grandmaster. If you can start applying these tips to your own play, you're going to see some sort of improvement from them. These are also rules that I try to follow as much as possible in things outside of League of Legends as well. I strive to be as competent as possible in every aspect of my life, and I find that applying these rules to every aspect of my life really helps with that. Right now, we're doing a special Halloween offer for our website. By using code Halloween2019, you can get 50% off your order. So, if you've been on the fence about our website up until this point, now is a great time to try it. Our website has hundreds of guides, all done by Challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles, as well as champion specific courses. So, if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check it out using the link in the description below. Now, the last thing that I do want to say before we get into these tips and tricks is that these are not all originally mine. I've taken these tips from various places, I've heard them from various people, and I've applied them to my own play over the years. Now, rule number 1 is that gradual improvement comes from consistency in practice. Remember, playing 9 hours in one sitting isn't going to magically turn you into a better player. If you're able to take these 9 hours and spread it over the course of a week, then you will often yield better results. Even if you're only able to play 20 minutes a day, as long as you have a clear goal in mind, then growth will still happen. This is otherwise known as practice. This is the same concept as going to the gym every single day, or practicing an instrument or a language every single day. We don't go to the gym or practice an instrument or a language one day out of the week for 4 hours in order to see improvement. It's the same concept for League of Legends. Try to play just a little bit, at least one game every single day if you can. If not, 4 or 5 days a week will still work. Remember, you need to have a clear goal in mind in order for this to be considered practice. If you're just queuing up for an ARAM with your friends without looking to improve at all from it, then this won't make much of a difference, if any. Tip number 2 is that a narrow focus will always result in quicker improvement. The concept behind this is that we are limited by our memory. You could binge watch instructional videos on League for an entire day, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to remember every single thing from every single video that you watched. This means that you can't get the full value out of these videos if you just watch them one time all at once and then try and apply all of it to your games. Focus on 1 or 2 things at a time until you have them mastered, and then you can go back to the same video, watch it again, and focus on the next thing. This means you can commit to one thing wholeheartedly until you have it done, instead of committing to everything in that video half-heartedly. Rule number 3 is that sometimes you are the problem. You need to take responsibility for your actions. If you're the reason that you lost a game and you just deflect it onto somebody else, then you're never going to learn from that. Recognizing when you are the problem and when somebody else is the problem is very important. And recognizing when you are the reason that you won a game, for example, is also very important. You can't take credit for every single win, and you can't blame somebody else for every single loss. It is okay if you are the reason that you lost the game, as long as you recognize that that is the case and accept it. This allows you to move on quickly and determine whether or not there's something that you could have done differently in that game in order to come out with a win. On the other hand, if you try to take credit from every single one of your wins, then you're never going to learn anything in this case either. If you think that you carried the game when in reality it was somebody else, then you're missing out on a learning opportunity from the player that actually carried that game. Assigning blame and credit to the proper players is very important for learning from your own games. Remember, this is not black and white. There might be a few different players that made mistakes leading to a loss, and there might be a few different players that made good plays that might have led to a win. Another thing that's really important to understand is that just because one player played poorly for a majority of the game, it doesn't mean that loss is on that player. Somebody could play the majority of the game nearly perfect and still be the reason why their team lost. For example, if you're 8-0 and you try and 1v5 and end up throwing Baron and then the game, then that loss is on you, not anybody else. On the other hand, if you're 0-6 top laner 1v3s in the side lane and kills them all and then gets an inhib, you didn't carry that game, your top laner did. This is one of the hardest concepts for people to understand, and it does take a lot of discipline and understanding of the game in order to have a full understanding of it. But as long as you have an open mind about things, then you will gradually learn it over time. Don't just instantly assume blame or credit onto one player. Try to take a little bit of time to figure out why the game went the way it went, and then assign blame or credit due to that. Rule number 4 is that attitude plays a massive role in performance. If you come into every single game hating the game, tilted, then you're not going to play well. This is something that I personally can clearly see by taking a look at my rating over the years. At points in time where I was going through a rough spot in life, or I really wasn't enjoying League and was tilted or playing emotionally because of it, I was a lot lower rated. The points in my life where I had a really good support staff and a good approach to League, I was much higher rated. Now, there's going to be ups and downs, and sometimes a lot of things are going to be out of your control. But try not to play when tilted, and try not to immediately go to a negative mindset whenever something goes wrong in a game. Oftentimes, with a good attitude, you can play against somebody who's really tilted, but mechanically a lot better than you, and still beat them. If you do find yourself tilted, then just take a short 20-minute break from League. Drink some water, walk around, stretch, get your blood flowing, and then once you feel better, start playing again. This is one of the tips that is honestly pretty easy to implement as long as you remember it. You may not be able to have the best attitude when going into the game every single game, but you can at the very least avoid going into the game with a terrible attitude. Now, the last rule has to do with your interaction with other players, and this is you want to observe instead of type, and you want to know when a discussion is going to be worth your time. Now, I'm going to say right now, at least 90% of the time, it's not going to be worth your time to sit there arguing with somebody else about what should have happened in a certain game. Now, the best way to determine whether or not a discussion is going to be beneficial to you, whether you're going to be able to learn something from it or not, is just by sitting and listening. You do not want to agree or disagree with somebody right away. You can ask questions to fully understand their point of view, which will allow you to tell if they're tilted and just venting, or if they're actually looking for a productive discussion with you. Instead of going back and forth with somebody arguing about why a game was lost, ask them questions to try and understand their point of view, why they thought it was lost, what could have been done differently, etc. If they do offer good responses to these questions, then you can go forward with your discussion, maybe give them your opinion on the game, and then go back and forth a little bit. But if they're just being toxic and they don't offer anything of value to you, then it's better to just drop the conversation right there and leave. Now, you might be wondering why discussion is important for learning in the first place. The main reason why people don't participate in discussions is, first of all, they just don't care enough, or they think they already know everything and that the other people aren't going to give anything of value to them. Remember, no learning can be done if you think you know everything. But why should you care what other people think? Healthy discussions are a great way to get a glimpse into somebody else's mind, to see their perspective of the game, which will allow you to see something new that you oftentimes would not be able to see on your own. I understand that in solo queue, you might not be able to find healthy discussion partners all the time. This tip will apply to players that frequently duo, however. If you are able to have healthy discussions with your duo and you're not constantly bickering with each other, or it's not just an echo chamber where you're just reaffirming each other's beliefs, then you're going to see a lot more improvement that you normally would not be able to see. Rule number 6 is know when to ask for help and know when to help others. Try to help out any peers that you might have whenever you can. This helps you build relationships in and out of the game, which is very, very important. The reason that relationships are so important in every aspect of your life is because these are the people that you fall back on when you need help. Help people whenever you can, and you will often find that these people will definitely be willing to help you back whenever you are in a time of need. It is okay to need help, and it is okay to ask for help. I can 100% say that I would never have gotten to where I am today if I hadn't asked my friends for help. This can be applied to raw aspects of the game, for example, when you need your jungler to bail you out in the laning phase. Or it can be applied to tougher aspects in life. Say you're going through a rough spot and you're always getting tilted every time you play League. Ask the people around you for help whenever you need it, and I am sure they will be more than willing to help. Now, I do have a small bonus rule for all of you high elo players out there. This last rule is about making sure that whatever elo it is that you are doesn't go to your head. I see this a lot, especially with younger high elo players. I might see a 17-year-old challenger player and they think that they're all that simply because they're challenger at such a young age. Speaking as somebody who was a 17-year-old challenger player myself, I can tell you that the praise and the congratulations that you get and everything that surrounds that is not a product of you as a person, it is a reflection of your rank. This does not mean that the praise is unwarranted, and it doesn't mean that the people giving you the praise or telling you congratulations on Diamond aren't your friends. That is not at all what I'm trying to say here. My point is, the people that think that all of this praise is because of who they are as a person and their unique situation are the people who let it go to their heads, which is very detrimental for growth. It is important to know that no matter who you put into that scenario, they would still be seeing the same result. They would be getting the same praise and congratulations. It is a pretty fine line between accepting any praise that you might get and letting that praise go to your head. Like I said, this is typically only an issue that I see in the higher elos, especially with younger players. That is all that I have for you today on some of the things that I learned on my way and through Challenger. As always, I'm Panther. I hope you learned something valuable, and I'll see you in the next one. Right now, we're doing a special Halloween offer for our website. By using code Halloween2019, you can get 50% off your order. So, if you've been on the fence about our website up until this point, now is a great time to try it. Our website has hundreds of guides, all done by Challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles, as well as champion-specific courses. So, if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check it out using the link in the description below.